Welcome to the Business Spotlight Series. My name is Scott Lawson, certified business coach with Action Coach of Coastal Bend in South Texas, and I'll be your host today. I'm very excited to have our special guest, James Rosenblatt, on our show. James is the president of Rosenblatt Law Firm. Today, we're going to talk to James about his business, his journey to business ownership, some challenges, maybe some successes, and have him share what it's really like to own and operate a business as an entrepreneur. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to like and subscribe so you get notifications when we publish new content. Well, James, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Scott. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, I've been looking forward to this. It's great to have you. Thank you so much for making the time to be on our podcast. I'd like to start things off before I even talk about the business by just asking more about you. Can you tell us about your own journey, how your journey started, and then we can talk about the business?
You know, I went to undergrad knowing I wanted to do something with businesses. So I majored in economics, got to my senior year and decided to go to law school, went through law school knowing why I wanted to be a business lawyer, and have spent my career as a business lawyer and helping people run, operate, sell off, and deal with all the issues of entrepreneurship and being a business.
So I hear of so many people who have a change in directions, maybe after they start college or after they get out of college, but you had a pretty good idea where you were headed from the get-go.
I did, actually. Yeah,
that's great.
I stayed on a focus.
That's great. That's great. So now I might just ask you about the business itself. What can you tell us about Rosenblatt Law Firm?
So, you know, although I knew where I wanted to end up, I actually never thought I would own my own business. So I, started working for other law firms in San Antonio, worked for a small firm, worked for a larger firm or a national firm, that actually went in-house as general counsel for a construction company, got done with that and decided it was time to do something else and realized there wasn't a lot of good options. So without a good option, I started my own firm. And we're celebrating 20 years this year. So I guess it's worked out okay.
It almost sounds like you call it a last resort after other things didn't work out.
Oh. It wasn't that, but it was interesting because I never thought I would end up running a law firm. That was never something I was my goal, but I've enjoyed the process. All the ups, downs, and challenges, it's been fun.
Great, great. Now, I'd like to just ask about what your role is in the business, as you personally. What's your day-to-day look like?
I balance it between trying to run the firm and trying to work with clients. The thing that gives me my most passion is dealing with clients. I love helping a client come in where they don't really know what they want to do or how to do it, and we get it working for them. And in some cases, after all these years, we've sold them off and they've done very well, and they don't appreciate how they got there until they get to look back. So that's really fun. But at the same time, I got to keep an eye on what we do here. And, at this point, we have 19 lawyers. We have 2 physical offices, and we're working on a 3rd office. And so this itself is sort of a ongoing requirement. And so it has a lot of challenges in itself.
That's a familiar story in a lot of ways. At Action Coach, oftentimes when we work with business owners, we are talking about how much time they spend working in the business and how much time they spend working on the business. And so often, your story is not unique in that you enjoy the actual tasks that the business is set up to do, but you understand that you need to make time to be working on the business too, so that maybe that might mean you're not working directly with clients, but you're setting up some of your other 19 to be able to do that.
Exactly. I refer to it as working in the trench, right? When you're in the trench working with clients, you only know what's going on in front of you, but you can't be strategic when you're in that trench.
Yep, that's right. When can you be strategic? You really kind of have to set aside that opportunity to work on the strategy for the business. Yeah, that's great. So maybe if you could kind of look back in time over these years since the business started, these 20 years or so, what do you think the biggest mistakes that other business owners might be able to learn from? Can you help others not reinvent the wheel or not go through certain things? What mistakes did you make and what did you learn from them?
I don't know if it's mistakes as much as pivots. We did a lot of things. Look, I'm in the business of consulting businesses. We did a lot of things right, but I will tell you, it is interesting, although I talk to clients about this all the time, people you hire don't necessarily grow with you. And sometimes you hire people at the time that are great, and yet later on they either have to change their position or you need to move on and hire someone else. And so those pivots were painful in some cases because the person you hired doesn't change.
Right. I sometimes we talk about that, having the right people on the bus and having them in the right seat.
Well, yeah, and look, and that only works for so many miles, right? I mean, if your business is growing, what works when it's you plus an assistant may not work when you've got 40 people in your office.
Good point.
And so, right bus, right seat, but also realizing when that changes and knowing that, hey, that person was great to get you where they got you, but they can't take you the rest of the journey.
Right. Business needs to be flexible, and as time goes on, especially if it's growing, those things will change. There'll be a different perspective. That's great. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
So I ask you to look back in time about the past of the law firm. How about looking forward? If you look to 5 years from today, how will Rosenblatt Law Firm look different? If your dreams come true, if everything that you have in the plans comes to fruition, how will it look different in 5 years?
We want to be a regional player. We started in San Antonio. As I said, we've added a physical office in Houston. I tell business owners all the time, the biggest challenge you will have after starting your business is adding that next office. And we are learning and revising process and procedures all over the place for that next office. And I want to use that as a springboard to grow into an Austin office and a Dallas office. And so those are the future plans.
Yeah. Again, any business that wants to expand to a second location and then a third or a fourth, they're going to be going through that process of figuring out they'll go through the process of figuring out what's the process and actually being able to put procedures in place to set up that second one. And hopefully what we put in place for the second one, we can use for the third one and the fourth one and move on from there. So you can kind of be thinking ahead. Hey, if I do this exactly the same way, will it be as successful? Do I need to change some steps or do things in a different order or something like that? That's wonderful.
Yeah, no, look, it's going to make us stronger. It's a little bit of headache in the middle, but it's causing us to go back and say, okay, why do we do it this way? Does that still make sense? And what needs to change as we grow?
Great. James, when you think of success, who is the first person that you think of and why?
It's an interesting question, Scott. There are not a lot of successful law firm owners or law firms are a pretty unique animal. So in my industry, I'd say there are not a lot of people that I think of as successful. It's really kind of a challenging practice. But there's certainly, I admire business owners, entrepreneurs that create industries and create businesses where everyone said it wasn't going to happen or it wasn't going to be successful. And so, I don't want to be a role model in this area, but I want to make sure I've been a path that others could follow.
Yeah, that's great. I think when we have the opportunity to have lots of conversations with lots of business owners, we learn from that. And it's kind of interesting just to hear all of their experiences. And I think it teaches us some things that hopefully we can apply in our own businesses. Yeah.
Exactly.
What differentiates your business, Rosenblatt Law Firm, from other law firms?
I have made sure that the things that people complain about law firms are not what happens here. And look, people complain, right? Their lawyer says, I'll call you back in 2 weeks. I mean, if you're calling your lawyer, you need help now. And so if you call our firm, if I'm not available, you will get someone who can help you or someone who can say, hey, you know what? Let me get some information. We will get on that. We make sure we keep our clients informed on what's going on. We try to set expectations of what it's going to cost to do certain tasks. But again, there is also things about the law field that we just can't control. I can't control who is on the other side. I can't control the other parties. I can't make them settle. I can't make them rational. And so there are still areas of the law that are beyond our control. But I try to make sure everything that is within our control, we're being helpful with. And we try to demystify how lawyers bill for their time and why things get expensive, because sometimes they do.
Yeah, being able to understand my relationship with the attorney who's doing my work is so important, and being told it's going to be a couple of weeks before you hear from anybody, that could be the worst news for some people in certain situations. So that's wonderful. Get back with them right away, and then also setting the stage for you may hear some bad news. There may be some things here that we can't necessarily control, but we're gonna work with you on what we can. So I like that.
Yeah. And look, one of the reasons I started our firm is I wanted to have a firm where everything a business owner would need is here. So as we've grown, I've got an estate planning section. I've got different kinds of transactional lawyers, from one that deals with employment issues, one that deals with real estate issues. We have lots of contract issues. I do a lot of merger and acquisition. I've got a litigation department that can handle most civil things that a business owner would need, because the last thing you want to know is, I don't know which lawyer to call. And so you call our firm, we've been dealing with all of your issues, and therefore I kind of know how it fits in. I also know, hey, wait a minute, if you've got a collection issue, we also need to fix your contract. We also need to discuss about how you're paying your employees. And so we can look at everything that's going on in your firm and be that consultant for your legal issues about your business, and not say, well, that's very interesting, go find someone else to deal with that. Because that doesn't solve it.
Oh, thanks for that explanation. I get a much clearer picture of you as, I'm going to call it, a one-stop shop. Like all of the different legal needs that I have as a business owner, I can handle with your firm.
That's what we try to do. Yes.
Great, great. Is there anything that you would do differently if you had it to do over again?
I don't know that I would. I'm a big believer in how you got there is as important as where you are. And so, on one side, I guess I should have gone out of law school and started my own firm. I wasn't ready to start my own firm. And so by being at other law firms and seeing what they did, allowed me to do my firm in a way that was different from things I thought were negative, but also to pick up the things that were great. Being inside a business means I think like a business owner, not only because of my own business, but I was in a, multi-million dollar national firm that was dealing with issues all over the country. And so when I deal with clients now, I take that background with me. And so, look, are there times that things happen I wasn't happy about? Of course, that's part of being a business owner. But I think we got to where we are because of those things. And so you can't not have that history, right? You wouldn't, if you don't learn the lessons, you don't get to where you are. And so unfortunately, you got to live it all, right? Everyone says, I don't want to be 15 again. I don't want to be 25 again, which we all agree with. But at the same time, by being a 15-year-old and being a 25-year-old, you're a better person today. So unfortunately, you got to live it to get there.
That's great. I sometimes will talk with business owners who actually have regrets about different things that happened in the past, but it's important to understand the things that, well, just like you just explained, those things that may not have gone the way you wish they had, they were still learning opportunities. And even if it's an opportunity where you lost an investment in something because you made a decision you wish you hadn't, that investment became your payment for an education, and you were actually able to learn through that experience. So that's so true, that none of us would be where we are today if it weren't for even the things that we wish we hadn't done or wish we had known better than to do. But those are opportunities for us to grow.
Yeah, but hey, good or bad, you learn from them, and that's the key. That's what makes you a better business owner, better lawyer in my case, better consultant in your case. We bring baggage with us, but that's what makes us who we are.
Don't let me put words in your mouth, but when you say good or bad, we learn from them, I might even say we learn more from the bad.
I would absolutely agree with you, right? Sometimes we don't learn. Look, we all fail sometimes to celebrate our successes. I forget sometimes I'm running a law firm that's got 40 people. We're in 2 offices. We've got 19 attorneys. There's a lot of success there, but we tend to focus on the things that went wrong. But you got to also celebrate the success.
Great. I agree. James, we've talked about a lot of different aspects of your business and even of you individually. I feel like we're kind of getting toward the end of our podcast here. I'd like to just ask, is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience?
You know, to be an entrepreneur, you got to be a risk taker.
Okay.
You gotta appreciate that there are stressful moments. It is not easy to run a business.
Right.
And you know, real entrepreneurs that have started something can appreciate the stress of trying to figure out how you're going to make payroll or how you're going to pay a bill. But again, that's what makes you stronger, and that's what makes your business viable, and it means that it's flexible enough to move forward. And so, you know, relish the challenges, because if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Right.
And it really takes a unique type of person to relish the risk, to relish the challenges, and say, okay, that didn't go the way we wanted it to, but let's step back 5 yards and throw it again and make it work.
Great. How would our viewers and listeners, some people may just hear the audio version of this, get in touch with you or learn more about your firm, James?
So we have a website presence at www.rosenblatt, ROSENBLATT, lawfirm.com. Our main number is 210-562-2900.
Great. And we will put those in the show notes too. So anyone who has this podcast in their hands will be able to see the contact information as well. So wonderful, wonderful. James, thanks for sharing your story. This has been very interesting.
I was just saying, thank you, Scott. I appreciate your time, and thanks for giving me this opportunity. It's been fun.
Great, great. Yes, I've enjoyed it too. And I think our audience will as well. This is the Business Spotlight Series with Scott Lawson from Action Coach of Coastal Bend and James Rosenblatt of Rosenblatt Law Firm. Please be sure to like and subscribe so you can continue to get great content. Thank you for watching or for listening today. Bye for now.
Have a great day.